Hey y'all, it's me back with another video, and today's video is gonna be about breastfeeding. I thought I would just tell y'all like my experience um breastfeeding. So let's start eating. So initially I wanted to breastfeed because I know the benefits of it, and for the baby, and also when you breastfeed you lose your stomach faster. So initially I wanted to breastfeed. But then when it got towards the end of my pregnancy, I was like, well, maybe I'll just bottle feed because I got to thinking like I'm gonna be so tired having to get up every time he's hungry and feed him. Like it has to be coming from my body. And I just thought that that would be a lot on me. And so I had talked to his dad about it, and he wanted to be able to feed him through a bottle. And I told him, I could pump or whatever, but um, again, I just thought that that would just be so much more work. So we decided that we were just gonna bottle feed, which we did do once he was born. And I had a C-section, so I really just was like, okay, I'm definitely bottle feeding because I was really exhausted after, everything. And I was so scared to even touch my stomach, let alone have my baby near my stomach. So we had decided to bottle feed. We got home and I was like, let me, well, my boobs were leaking. So I was like, okay, I got to do something about this. And I was like, well, let me try and breastfeed. And the first time, maybe the first few times, you know, he latched on, but it took some time and he didn't really eat much, or I felt like he wasn't eating much. Or I felt like he wasn't eating much, so I was still kind of like, I don't know if this is something I'm gonna stick to. But I continued with it, and I also got a pump, and I was pumping and breastfeeding him at the same time. But for me, pumping and feeding him, I just wasn't producing enough to be able to do that. So I try to pump like in the middle of feeding him. Like I just fed him, maybe an hour later I'll try and pump before I have to feed him again. That way when it's time for him to eat, there's still something in there. They're not like drained out. So I do have some that I store in the freezer for times when his father has him, or somebody's watching him and I'm not there. They can just grab him out the freezer, defrost him, and put it in his bottle and feed it to him. I'm actually breastfeeding and doing formula, but the formula I'm using is very similar to breast milk. It has the same, or some of the same things that breast milk would have. And also, I had him on Similac at first, but the Similac has too many bubbles in it and it gave my baby gas. And he was constipated and so fussy for maybe 2-3 nights in a row. And he was making a sound like his stomach was hurting, and it was just upsetting me so much because I'm like, my baby is in pain and I can't do nothing about it. So we switched him from the Similac to Enfamil Gentle Ease, and that one, within the next day, he was doing so much better. He was using the bathroom. He's still making the noise because, obviously he's still getting through his system. So he's still making the noise, but not as much, and he is making poo-poos more than what he was before. So I'm breastfeeding him and have him on the Gentle Ease. Now, my experience with breastfeeding is now, he doesn't really have a problem latching on. He latches on pretty well. The only thing is, it kind of hurts when he first gets on it, but once he's like, been at it for maybe like a minute or two, it doesn't hurt anymore for me. My nipples are pretty much always sore. I have some nipple cream that I put on them just so they don't dry out and crack, and then, now I can't breastfeed him. So yeah, that's pretty much, how it goes. I would say it's kind of easier. I thought it would be harder, getting up every time to feed him on my boob, but it's actually easier because all I gotta do is get him, put him here, feed him. I don't have to warm it up. I don't have to put it in a bottle, you know. Like, my baby be ready to eat. So when I have to get up and go make a bottle, it just take more time, and he's sitting there crying and, because he's hungry. So it's actually a little bit easier than giving him a bottle or making formula. And then, the formulas have some stuff in them that will maybe upset your baby, or, he just not able to digest it right, which will leave him constipated. My experience with the Similac, I had the Similac Pro Advance, which is the one with the purple top. It's silver with the purple top. It was really foamy every time I mixed it. I have to shake it. You have to shake the formula. I tried to mix it with a fork. It just wasn't working. The formula was still at the bottom, and there were still bubbles. So I had to shake it. And I Googled it, and they were like, shake it, warm it up, let the bubbles die down. So I tried to do that, and the bubbles were still there. They were taking too long to go away. My baby was already hungry. So I just decided to put him on the boob, and he fed for maybe an hour, and the bubbles were still there in the milk. So I'm like, how was I supposed to wait? Because after you mix a bottle, you have to use it within an hour, or it goes bad. So I'm just like, okay, I gotta do something different. And then that's when I looked up some more formulas that would help my baby. And I came across the infant milk, brought it up to his dad. I brought it up to my mom, and she was like that she used to use that formula for us. So we tried it for him, and it works. But that is another thing about breastfeeding is, so when you give your baby a bottle, you put it up to 2-3 ounces, and they're full. So they pretty much get all their milk at one time, and they finish their bottle within maybe 10-15 minutes. When you breastfeed, depending on how much milk you're producing, the baby will feed for maybe 45 to an hour. 45 minutes to an hour. Depending on when the last time they ate was and how much you're producing. Because if you're not producing that much, they can be eating for an hour and a half simply because, your milk is coming out slowly. For me, when I first got home, it was like pouring down. And I started breastfeeding him, and since he was eating it kind of subsided, or it felt like it subsided, and it wasn't coming out as much. So that's why I'm not pumping and breastfeeding him as much. I'm just kind of strictly sticking to breastfeeding him, and I'll pump like the days that his dad has him at night, because when I would normally feed him, they're leaking because they're like, all right, time to feed. So I'll pump and freeze that, so there's more going in. Or sometimes when he's sleeping a little longer, I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and pump, because he didn't wake up, he's not that hungry yet, so let me go ahead and pump, and I'll pump. But yeah, that's pretty much my experience. If y'all have any questions, comment down below. I'll try my best to answer them in the best way I can if I know the answers. And if y'all have any tips, any tips, or whether it's regarding breastfeeding or the baby, or any questions about our experience as first-time parents, any tips as first-time parents, please comment down below. We greatly appreciate it. I like to take any criticism, whether it's given to me in a good way or a bad way. But yeah, so make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.